Alright everybody, welcome to another, double mini indie game review here on the channel. As I have two games I want to talk about, but they're a little bit too small to turn into individual major pieces. And we're going to start off with The Last Cube. This is a puzzle game that has a lot of, aesthetics and charm to it that you may not really realize by looking at screenshots or just the journal footage of it. But this game features a lot of lore. As it turns out, Cube World, where all the cubes live, has suffered an apocalypse, and it is up to the, last cube in order to undertake trials on each face in order to bring society back. The puzzles are kind of all built around the organic nature of the mechanics and rules. As your cube moves around face by face, it can roll into different stickers. Each sticker corresponds to a different power, and that power activates, or it can be activated, with whatever is your top facing panel. So you have the ability to teleport, you can create clones, dash, and more. Each level features bonus challenges and MacGuffins for you to collect, and the challenges themselves are oftentimes very mind-breaking in terms of trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to do here, such as doing it with limited number of moves, not using specific abilities, and so on. Now, the level designs themselves are all very varied, with the structure being each face has 3 levels. Complete all 3, you move on to the next panel. There are bonus levels that introduce even more challenges, and each kind of side has an overriding sticker that will determine the bulk of the puzzle solving itself. Now, with that said, this is again one of those games where what you see is what you get in terms of its puzzle solving. I did like the fact that the game does allow you to, or will tell you how to move in order to land on specific switches that require different faces. But if you're hoping for more mechanical interactions, such as introducing completely new ways of playing or new elements like that, The Last Cube is very restrained in that regard. But it is, a really solid puzzle game. And with all the additional unlocks and elements you can do in it, there is certainly stuff here if you really want to rack your brain over cube-related puzzles. So, with that said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at the second game of this review. And as always, if you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, then check out my design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 essential games to study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. For our second game, this is the Roguelike Tower Defense Refactor. And this is an interesting one that has a great concept that I feel is kind of lost with this integration of mechanics. So, our goal here is to defend against invading ships wave by wave. Each kind of quote-unquote level of difficulty appears to be fixed in terms of what waves you get, but the X factor comes in with your tower assignments. Every time you buy a tower, you are given 3 randomly chosen towers that can come in different elements, as well as different kind of grades, going from grade 1 to grade 5 in terms of power. The whole titled Refactored comes in with being able to combine 3 towers into a kind of super tower, which will also share the properties and elements of the 3 combined ones that you use. So the challenge of this game is not only figuring out what strategy you want to make use of, but adapting to the towers and their respective tiles that you get in order to build pathing, mazing, laning, and so on. It's a very great concept for a tower defense game. The problem that Refactor has is that the RNG becomes more and more of a inhibitor as you get further into this game. I made it to kind of the 4th tier of difficulty, and all of a sudden the enemies were just completely steamrolling me. I was building giant mazes and lanes. Nothing was stopping these enemies from getting close. Part of that has to do with the RNG of the towers. How the game works is that you can spend your resources in order to quote-unquote upgrade your store. And when you do that, it gives a greater chance of the higher tiers or the higher grades of dropping or appearing. But if you don't get those, it can basically doom a run. Because all the grade 1 and 2 towers in the world aren't going to save you when the enemies are just kind of being tickled by them and they just fly right on by. And it feels like the RNG is just too much of a factor as you get into this game. When you are looking at getting traps, which you have to set up lanes in order to go across a trap one time in order to unlock them. But again, if you get the wrong trap or the wrong technology, which is Refactor's version of kind of the artifacts from other roguelike style games, there's nothing else really that you can use in order to win. This is not like a game such as Slay the Spire, Monster Train, or any of the other number of roguelike style games where if the game gives you a bad hand, you can adapt and maybe overcome. In this game, if you don't get what you need, there's no pivoting that's going to save you. If you can't get grade 5 turrets or towers to appear, no matter how much you spend, you're not going to be able to do anything. And it's very frustrating to see that. Now, the game has been updated several times since its release, and I know from the version that I played to 1.0, they did add in new elements. That's where the technology comes in. So there is a chance that things will be updated with new elements, maybe after this review. But again, as I always say, I can't review a game on possibilities. Refactor is an interesting experiment that I don't think fully works, but if you are a huge tower defense fan and you're looking for something a little bit different to play, I would definitely check this one out and see what you can learn from its use of RNG and the roguelike elements. But with that said, we're going to wrap up these mini reviews here. I would like to thank the developers for submitting their games. Let me know what you think of this format of kind of smaller reviews for titles that I want to talk about, but we can't really dedicate 15 to 20 minutes to do it. Do all the liking, subscribing, and commenting down below. Check out our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.